Welcome to the Autistic Mile. I'm your host, Jim Gaffney. Today we're going to be discussing the weight of autism and the challenges you don't always see. For me, specifically, there are 5 challenges that I identify with that cause me the most issue throughout the day. The first of those is masking, managing how the world sees me. Masking is identified as the conscious or unconscious suppression of natural autistic traits and the limitation of neurotypical behavior to blend into social environments. That's a mouthful there. So really, we're trying to blend in. We're trying to look like everybody else. Masking is complicated. For myself, it's something that started at an early age. And I believe it was unconscious at the time. It was never a conscious decision that I need to change my behavior to fit in. This doesn't happen over minutes, hours, or days. It happens over weeks, months, years, decades. So it's important to understand how the evolution of masking from beginning to end really happens. So, through events usually in our childhood, that's where we start forming these first impressions, if you will, of what the world around us looks like and what's expected of us. How are we expected to behave? And we're not talking right or wrong. We're not talking about. We're talking about different and being normal. So it's different from being right or wrong, because right or wrong is very subjective. So we come up with our own way of looking at things based on what we're seeing in the world around us. And we want to try to achieve some kind of harmony with that. We don't want to stick out. We want to fit in. So masking is one of the biggest challenges that we face, because we're trying to present the world with what we perceive they want to see from us. And it is with some of the other challenges I'll talk about today. We spend a lot of energy doing this. It is because it doesn't come natural to us. We have to think about it. Even though it's happening subconsciously, there's still a lot of thought that goes into it. Maybe not in a moment, but over time. So as we think of what we're supposed to say or how we're supposed to react or how we're supposed to interact with the world around us, masking is something that we get better with over time, but the mental drain that it takes on us and just the dedication to that philosophy is something that really makes it difficult for us to get through the day. And as I talk about masking in terms of some of the other challenges, you'll see later on that the sum of these challenges and the mental energy and the physical energy in some cases that's required to overcome these challenges or compensate for these challenges is something that adds up throughout each day, and it makes it more difficult. We talk about the daily weight. Each one of these, there's a weight associated with it. So as we talk about these, masking is definitely one percentage-wise that probably takes up the most amount of weight, because on any given day, if you're in a normal work environment, a normal school environment, you're out in public, that masking is going to be on full display. It's going to be working overtime because you're among your peers, you're among your colleagues. So you're going to be trying to put your best foot forward. And you're going to try to be masking the things that the areas in which you're deficient. You're going to be masking behaviors that in a home environment or an environment where you may be by yourself, you'd have no reason to mask them. So you're able to be yourself more in those isolated situations. Or if you're among loved ones that are knowledgeable about your autism, and you don't need to worry about it. It's when we're out in public, when we're out at work, we're at school. We're out in social settings. That's where most of the masking takes place. And that's really where the weight and the percentage of masking really takes its biggest toll. Because we do spend, if you're working 8, 9, 10 hours a day, or you're going to school for a long extended period of time, you're out in public. The longer we're out in public, the more that weight and that percentage adds up throughout the day. So when we look at how it's affecting us during the day, and what it's doing to our energy levels, our mental energy levels, it's really something that has a profound impact. So trying to be what the world expects of us, it does take a lot. It takes something, with each interaction that you have, you feel like you're being judged. You feel like everything has to be perfect. This has to come out just right. And for autistic people, the verbal piece is probably, if we're able to sit down and write an email, we live in a digital age. If we're able to sit down and write an email, if we're able to sit down and do some kind of written form of communication, that's always going to be a little bit easier because we have time to think about it and express it properly. It's when we have to think on our toes in a face-to-face conversation or a meeting, whether it's one person that you're interacting with or it's multiple. Those are going to be the situations that are more stressful because we have to get it right. And we have to get it right relatively fast. We don't have time to think about it. Some people take for granted the ability to kind of roll and think on the fly and come up with nice, smooth answers in a timely manner. Even for myself, when I am conversing with somebody, I'm always looking for the perfect words that I want to use. So for those that know me, it may seem like a little bit of a struggle, like I'm searching for the words, and that is the case. I'm quite literally searching for the words that best describe how I feel or the message I want to convey. So it doesn't come naturally. Our thought process, we're going through it and we're looking for the perfect words, and it interrupts the natural flow of how conversations should be. So it can be a little nerve-wracking. And sometimes if you try to get it out too quickly, it just doesn't sound right. So it doesn't, whether or not you're taking your time and you're hesitating and you're getting those thoughts out the way you want, or whether you're rushing through it and they're not coming out the way you want. In either case, they don't quite seem up to par. And we spend a lot of time trying to prepare. That's why preparation is so important for an autistic person, especially when they know they're going to be in a situation where they have to, whether it's a meeting or some kind of setting, if they know they're going to have to engage other people. We're trying to prepare ourselves. We're trying to come up with what are we going to say? How are we going to say it? We spend a lot of time planning. The amount of planning time that goes into trying to account for some of these situations, it would be hard for somebody to imagine how much time we spend planning these things. It's difficult, and it's we spend so much mental energy doing this, preparing for the situation, because we know it's not going to come to us naturally. So as we go through each day, percentage-wise, even though I have 5 things on my list, masking probably accounts for about 50% of the mental fatigue that I experience on a daily basis. And that's just me. I'm only one individual, so not everybody is the same. Other people are going to have their own strengths and weaknesses, but masking for me there's always a challenge there, even though I've gotten much better at it over the years. It's still probably about 50% of my daily mental energy goes toward masking. And some of these things that we're talking about, some of these challenges I'm talking about, masking is just the first one in terms of mental energy. So these take up mental energy, and that mental energy is energy you're going to need to do other tasks, things that you need to do, job functions, school functions, social functions. So these all take away from the percentage you have available in your mental fuel tank to do those things. And it does. We know it going into the day, and it can. Although some days are better than others, it can impact us from one day to the next, where we may use so much mental energy today that we have less tomorrow. It's some of us bounce back quicker than others, and it's not always that you start out with 100% in your tank, because you may still be stressed about something the day before. So those energy levels are important, and as we go through each day, these challenges that we face are all things that impact us not only on the day they're happening, possibly the next day and days beyond that. The next challenge I want to talk about is dysregulation. So dysregulation is a failure of the body or the mind to manage, control, or balance a normal process or response. When a system gets overloaded, talk about being regulated. You're running at the level at which you should. When you're dysregulated, there's a disconnect in terms of what you're perceiving and how you're processing that. So you're out of harmony, you're out of balance, something's off. So this dysregulation or the process of regulating yourself becomes mentally expensive as well. You're trying to bring your behavior into line. You're trying to make sure that it's not impacting you, but your senses are being bombarded by what's happening around you. Demands are being made of you physically, mentally, and at some point, depending on what the situation is, some things tend to affect our regulation more than others. So when we're in public situations, social settings, those are probably going to be times where we feel more dysregulated than others. And a lot of that depends on who we're with, how many people we are, what the setting is, where we are. Is there a lot of music or loud noises? What's the lighting? These are all factors that go into dysregulation and affecting the way that we're functioning and we're performing ourselves. There are a lot of different things. And for most people, some of the things I just mentioned, they may just slide off. They're natural. They don't really impact them. Somebody on the spectrum, these can each really impact us severely in our own way. When I go to a store and I'm in a social setting and people are around me are doing things that are having an impact on me, on my ability to navigate that situation and do what I need to do. To me, it's difficult because there's not anything you can do about it. You're in that situation. You just have to get through it the best you can. Social settings can be difficult as well. And when you're trying to, there's demands are being placed on you, and your natural state is being interrupted. It's what you would otherwise try to do. So the whole time you're trying to regulate, and you're trying to make sure that you're getting through things as well as you can. But noise, interruptions, demands that are being made of you, they're all gonna affect the way that you're regulating yourself. And those are, again, depending on what you're doing during the day or what situation you're in. Dysregulation can always be something, it's you're off task. You're not doing what you wanted to do or what you could be doing, and it's causing, again, more mental anxiety. And as we talk about anxiety, that is actually the next challenge. So the constant what if this happens? What if that happens? Again, we go back to preparation, planning, trying to foresee what might transpire if you know the situation you're going to be put in that day. But the ones we do know about are most likely going to cause us anxiety from the time we know about them on that day until they're done. And maybe afterwards, depending on how the situation went. We may have anxiety with the way things panned out during that interaction. We may not be completely satisfied with the results of that. So just getting through a situation doesn't mean the anxiety subsides. We have anxiety before something happens because we're worrying about it. What's going to happen. We have anxiety during an event because, again, we're in the midst of it. It's happening. So we have anxiety that we have about trying to get through it. And then we talk about the post event. We have anxiety about what just transpired because we're dissecting it. Did we do everything right? We're worried about how the world's perceiving us. So the before, the beginning, the before, the during, and the after, they all are causes of anxiety. And that anxiety afterwards can be more than even the before or the during because of the way things transpired. In a perfect world, if that interaction, if that meeting, or if that class, or if that day, whatever the case may be, if everything went perfect, we're probably still going to have some anxiety because we're always asking ourselves a question because it's hard for us to tell sometimes. We don't always know how the world is perceiving us. And we worry about that before, during, and after. And the after can go on for minutes, hours, or days, depending on our perception of what transpired during that event. So we can go on thinking about something for days. Did something go right? Did something go wrong? Was it my fault? Was it somebody else's fault? How could I have done this better? Because remember, when you're on the spectrum, if you're masking, or even if you're not, if you're trying to come off as neurotypical, you're always trying to improve on that. So day after day, interaction after interaction, event after event, the anxiety that we feel is a natural part of the experience. It's all part of a larger equation. The anxiety we feel that we want to get better at things. We're always trying to improve upon what we're doing. It is a difficult thing to deal with because you always have that anxiety. Nobody wants to ask for help. Anxiety is like living on the edge of a knife. And if you go one way or the other, it could greatly affect you. When you have anxiety can be a gateway to depression. Depression can be a gateway to other things. So, having too much anxiety, a disproportionate amount of anxiety is not good for anybody, whether you're on the spectrum or not. This is all something that impacts your mental health. And mental health, there's nothing more important than our mental health. Physical health can be impacted by our mental health. But if you have a constant high anxiety level, high stress level, it winds up impacting your whole world. It can impact your sleep. It can impact you physically. It can impact your weight. It can impact your sense of harmony. It can impact everything. So living with that constant anxiety, whether it's the before, during, and after, again, it exacts a toll from you. It exacts a toll every day. And that cumulative toll, again, it is something that weighs on us. They talk about the weight of autism, the daily weight. The daily weight becomes a never-ending weight. It's just always something we're dealing with. We always have pressure on us, and that's why each day feels more difficult. Everybody has good days and bad days, but for us, even on a perfect day, we're probably going to be close to maxing out on our mental energy or our physical energy. So where somebody else on a good day, they've got plenty of extra. For us on a good day, we're going to struggle to manage those energy levels, and it's going to be more difficult. And things that happen along the way. So although we've talked about mental fatigue, it is actually a challenge itself. The mental fatigue, the battery nobody sees draining. When you're on your phone, you get the little battery light. Your phone has a battery light. It tells you you've got 80% battery life. Good for you. Got 80% battery life. You don't need to charge your phone. Nobody can see what our battery level is. It's invisible for any of us. Neurotypical, autistic, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows our energy level. They don't know, and we're masking. Again, they don't know. We're masking what we're feeling. We're masking everything that we're feeling. So nobody knows that we're depleting our energy levels. Nobody knows if we're getting in the red zone, and that's difficult for other people to manage, because on the outside, they see, I'll take myself as an example. They see calm Jim. They see everything is fine. He's doing great, smiling. He's interacting with people. Nobody sees behind the scenes what's going on up here. Nobody sees that battery level dropping some days more rapidly than others. We're masking it. And for the most part, we do it very well. I do it extremely well. But again, there's a toll that you pay for that. The bill always comes due. For me, it's usually the bill comes due when I get home. There are days when my wife will take one look at me and she'll say, "You look tired." And my answer is usually, I'm mentally tired. She's learned to see that in me, and I've learned to admit it. I'm not always physically tired. I'm mentally tired. And when I get home, it's unfair to my family, because I feel, because that my energy level has dropped that much that I just and they're accepting of that, which is good. There's nothing better than that when you have, your family is accepting of that. But again, it happens to me more days than I like to admit, where my energy level when I get home is not what it should be. I wish it was more, but I've spent so much energy during the day, trying to compensate with the masking, with my regulation, anxiety. My mental fatigue is probably maxed out. We're trying to filter things. We're trying to function properly. Even simple tasks for an autistic individual can become complex. Sometimes we can make them complex. We can make them more draining than they need to be, because we're worrying about the before, the during, and the after. And there's no getting around that. So sometimes we get through something with as little fatigue as possible, and that's a best case scenario. But we spend a disproportionate amount of time worrying about things. But it's all part of a bigger process. It's part of a bigger mechanism of how we get through a day and how we continue to try to evolve ourselves. So it's a big mechanism. It's a big wheel. The wheel keeps turning. It doesn't slow down. It's just the way we're designed. That's the way that we're built, and that's kind of the way it goes. So that mental fatigue, we can appear to be fine on the outside, but nobody sees that the battery light is in the red. We need to recharge. Sometimes we get into the red and we're just barely getting by. We can force ourselves in most situations to get by. But again, when you're in the red zone, it's a dangerous place to be, because your mind, and as a person, your mind, it wants to protect itself. It knows, okay, dummy, you have exceeded what you can do for today. You've done enough. You can't. Your mind is telling you. It's screaming at you. It needs time off. It needs to you need to regulate. You need to kind of get your focus back, and you need time, and you need time. You need time, and you need to kind of recharge yourself. And we can force ourselves through that, and sometimes we force ourselves past that. The fifth challenge that I talk about is hyperfocus. Hyperfocus is good. We can, for a lot of people on the spectrum, we can devote a large amount of energy to a single task, or maybe multiple tasks, depending if they're related or not, without disregard for time, food, water, sleep. We can take all those off the table. We take everything else off the table, and we can focus just on this one thing, and we could do a fabulous job at that. But again, the fact that you're denying yourself these necessities because you're so focused, you're so dialed in, you have forsaken everything that your body is telling you need. Your mind is so focused that everything else comes off the table. When you come out of that, on the other side, again, there's a price to be paid for that. You're coming out of it, but now you may have made so much progress on the task you're working on, but you've neglected your body, you've neglected your mind, you've neglected the other things you need. And that's one of the biggest prices. So now you're going to try to overcompensate. Now and you may not be able to. You may not have the mental energy or the physical energy to compensate at that point, because you've spent so much of your precious resources on the task, or the limited tasks you're working on. You've made enormous progress there, but other things have fallen by the wayside. And they may be every bit as important, but you have decided that the task that you were devoting your time to was what needed to get done on that day. When you get to that point, it could be difficult to disengage from that. That's part of the problem that I have. Disengaging. Once you're done with something, to me, nothing is ever perfect. And for me, that could be, I never want to put something down that's unfinished, because I know I'm just going to, as soon as I get up, it's going to be the first thing on my mind. It's much easier for me if I can complete that task, even if it takes me an extended period of time. I know I can put that behind me, and I can start working on something new tomorrow. But the process of putting that behind you, because you're still thinking, did I do everything correctly? Is there something that I could have done better? Did I forget something? So the art of moving from one task to another, either on the same day or in between days, could be difficult. And then we talk about the things that we missed while we were in the zone. If we've missed a meal, if we missed sleep, if we missed something else that was important that we get done, but we couldn't do it because we were in a zone. We were so focused on this. So we may overcompensate. We may overeat. We may do something a little bit. And now because we're trying to catch up, we're trying to do something we shouldn't do because we didn't do something the way we should have. For me, and for a lot of folks, it's difficult to maintain a regular schedule. If your schedule is such that you leave the house to go to work at a certain time, you get to work at a certain time, and then you work until a certain time, and you're supposed to take lunch at a certain time. Though that schedule can be very difficult to maintain when you're in a period where you're hyper-focusing, because again, you're focused on getting that task done, and there's really not much that's going to get in the way with that. There's nothing that's going to interfere with that, unless it's absolutely positively necessary. If there's something you cannot complete in that day, I've gone entire days without even getting out of my chair once I get to work. And I mean, no bathroom breaks, no eating, just what I have on my desk here. A couple snacks. If it's here and it's available, fine. But there's been days where I have not gotten away from my desk, from the time I arrived at work until the time I left. And even on that case, I may not have left on time. I may be leaving later than I should have. And again, that is impacting the rest of my schedule. It's impacting if I had plans to go to the gym after work. That is going to be impacted. Maybe now I don't have time to go to the gym, so I go straight home. So I've missed meals. I've missed my workout. I get home. I'm mentally fatigued, and now my family's got to deal with me. So the grumpy bear gets home. He's accomplished a lot. He's gotten done what he wanted to get done, but other things have fallen victim to his hyperfocus. And now my family's going to pay the price. Now I'm going to be a vegetable for the rest of the night because I need to regulate. I need to to shut down my brain. I need to watch some TV. I need to do something where I don't need to expend any more energy. I don't really necessarily want to have additional conversation other than what's necessary. I don't want to take out the garbage. I don't want to do certain things. All I want to do is veg out. And it's sad in its own way, because you feel as if you've been productive, and but you spent a disproportionate amount of time on one task instead of making sure that everything you had on your schedule received the same proportionate amount of attention. And that's where hyperfocus can really become a problem. Percentage wise for me, hyperfocus on any given day could be 50% of my mental energy, my mental fatigue. I mentioned masking is about 50%. So my percentages are usually way off the scale. They're not where they should be. And, although I've tried to get better at it over time, it's just something, I need to really focus on being able to stick to a schedule, and quit hyperfocusing. But it's always a challenge. We want to do the best that we can. Our career is a big focal point. It's our important part of our identity. We want to do the best job possible. And for us to do that, it takes more energy than somebody who's not autistic. It's a given. For me to be successful at my job, I have to expend more energy. That's just something I've come to accept. I don't complain about it. I accept it. It's a fact. I know it. For me to achieve the same amount of success as my peers, I have to put in additional work. And again, that can lead to other issues. It leads to issues regarding your self-esteem and your sense of worth, and it can lead to anger issues. It's like you put in all this work and you feel like, am I really getting out of it what I should be getting out of it? It's just. Again, we go back and we talk about the challenges and the way that they impact the daily weight of autism. It's just something that we have to continue to go through. Connection between all 5 of these challenges, it really can't be understated. Masking uses energy, anxiety uses energy, dysregulation uses energy, hyperfocus uses a lot of energy, and like I said, eventually the bill comes due. It comes due at the end of each day. And it goes between days. It's not just a daily weight we're talking about. It's an ongoing weight. So if you've extended yourself on one day, it's most likely going into the next day, you're gonna start out with issues because you really haven't completely put the previous day behind you. And the cycle can continue. Your hyperfocus, you miss other responsibilities, your anxiety increases, you become dysregulated. You mask the struggle around other people, become mentally exhausted. You have less capacity to regulate tomorrow. So it's something that we have trouble with and we struggle with. But again, this is invisible to people around us for the most part. For most of the people that we interact with, the people who are most likely to see it are the ones closest to us, family, and the closest of our friends, colleagues, people that we see at school, people in other environments. They're not going to see this. They're not going to see you when you get to the bottom of that barrel. When that bucket becomes empty, they're not going to see that. They're not going to see what happens. They're not going to see your end state. They see the state that you want them to see. So masking is something, again, it's something we're always aware of when we're in a public setting. The world sees what we want them to see. And that's by design. So good, bad, it's the way that we get through each day. That's going to do it for us today. It's going to put the end on another mile here. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next time. Until then, remember, every mile matters. Take care.
In the early days, kindness was something rare. The world around me just didn't care. It'd been enough if they let me be, but their hate left a mark on that heart inside me. Did my best to turn the other cheek, but that just made them think me weak. So I played it their way and they paid for their scorn, and I made them regret the day they were born. It's a fearless heart that wins the fight. A fearless heart sleeps well at night. Certain and steady, always knows what's right. Living with purpose, it shines so bright. This road's been long, but there's miles to go. Keep learning lessons this heart ought to know. Been to hell and back, found a brand new start, still searching for peace with a fearless heart. Once consumed by hate, love made me see the goodness inside me was meant to be. A road of violence now in the rear view. On this road to redemption, I'd start anew. The lies folks tell to make you feel small, I believed it all for far too long. Destiny and purpose are ours to define. Who we are in life, we decide. I traveled through storms, but I'm still here. Each scar a story, a truth made clear. The weight of the past can't hold me down. I've traded the darkness for higher ground. With faith as my guide, I play my part. The journey is long, but I know my heart. Through trials and fire, I'll stand my ground. In love and in mercy, I'm finally found. It's the fearless heart that wins the fight. A fearless heart sleeps well at night. Certain and steady, always knows what's right. Living with purpose, it shines so bright. This road's been long, but there's miles to go. Keep learning lessons this heart ought to know. Been to hell and back, found a brand new start, still searching for peace with a fearless heart. This road I've walked, there've been highs and lows. What the good Lord has planned, none of us knows. Through good times and bad, the righteous prevail. Living for others and tipping the scales. For me, life's a journey, a canvas of art. I paint it each day with a fearless heart.